Everyone thinks about soccer differently. We all create our own models of the game. Models are helpful when trying to simplify more complex ideas and also help to open up a new way of thinking about a problem. For this reason, models are useful in soccer because of the complexity involved in the sport. However, the only way to fully represent a game of soccer is to take the entirety of the game itself. This means that any models created will inherently exclude something because they cannot represent the whole game. These exclusions can be done intentionally and for good reasons with things like game models. Game models are often used by coaches in order to provide a set of rules and heuristics to their team. Rules and heuristics about how to play are helpful for explaining and allows for teams to work together in a much more connected manner. Of course, this process will always exclude something, but when trying to explain the ideas of how to play, that can be a positive outcome. Simplifying the possible options can help to not overload players' minds while they're playing, especially when competing against better opposition. For example, if a coach tells her team to not press until the opposition brings the ball across the halfway line, the team now doesn't have to worry about how to press the opposition in the attacking half of the field. This model now excludes the aspect of defending in the opposition half. This may ease the minds of some players, but doing this will also ignore a large part of the game that can be taken advantage of. Other more general models for thinking about the game can be helpful in exploring new ideas about ways to play. Some are helpful for grouping together similar actions from the game. An example of a commonly used grouping model is the 4 phases of play: in possession, out of possession, transition from in to out, and transition from out to in. This model says that any actions within the game can be placed into one of these 4 groups, and teams will act accordingly. And while this is widely used, it still excludes something fundamental from the game: set pieces. Another common way of grouping comes from placing arbitrary zones on the field. Whether referring to the different thirds or something more complicated like Guardiola's zones, this type of model maps all actions from the game to locations on the pitch. However, even when applying this model to the entire game, it still neglects something simple like which team has possession of the ball. Models can be more specific and even build off or combine with ideas from other models. For instance, Klopp's gegenpressing builds on one of the 4 phases, the transition from in possession to out of possession. Gegenpressing, then, is the set of rules that Klopp applies within that phase. Another example is Guardiola's positional play, which is mostly referring to his team's thinking when in the organized possession phase. Similarly to the other models mentioned, these models don't answer every question like how to attack after winning the ball when gegenpressing, or how to defend set pieces when using positional play. The difference is that these models don't care about these omissions. These models are agnostic, not forgetful. Gegenpressing doesn't actually care what you do once you get the ball, and positional play doesn't care if you mark zonally or man-to-man. They are only meant to answer a specific issue. So you can use your own models to help think about different things within soccer. However, you should be careful when someone says they have come up with the perfect, simple model that explains the entire game, because the only model that represents everything is the game of soccer itself.